Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Thom Raley. The scenario is The Occulted Light. It was written by Lucya, Szachnowski, and Gary O'Connell. I am the keeper of arcane lore, and this is the second version that we have run, and this is episode 1. So without any further delay, let's begin our journey into the darkness. The rain fell lightly on the new spring flowers that Marshall Tenner had recently planted in the beds surrounding the Corbin Library. Despite the rain, the day was fairly pleasant, and there was a good chance that the sun would come out later in the day. The rain had a marvelous way of washing away the dust and the dirt and making things seem new again. But one looked down the antique avenue east, one was gently reminded that many things in this town were old. Arkham was a haunted city, a place where lurked just under the surface strange eldritch things. They watched you from the windows of abandoned homes. They observed from the thick stretches of forest that cut swatches through the township, from cemeteries and from cellar doors. They waited in the dark. Most people ignored them. They pretended that they were not there. They denied their existence, except for a handful that actively sought them out. It was spring 1925. Rather than stay home in the gloom, some members of the Arcane Society thought that it would be a good day to do a little research at the Corbin Library. It's up to.
I mean, I say, Ed, looking at this photo, clearly this is not some poltergeist or spirit. It is someone who developed their film poorly. At least that's my take on it. Probably cheap film.
I think you're right. You're onto something. Looking at the edges here and these markings there, this was done in a rush.
How much did we pay for this? Was it Max or Toby? Who bought this?
It's good. I have a whole portfolio of fakes. We need stuff for the fake portfolio. It's all good. You have to have negative examples to compare the positive examples to. So this is still precious.
It's still an expense, is what I'm saying.
I'll put it away so you don't have to worry about its existence, but we need to keep it.
Okay, so we have funds. Don't worry. We're good, but it's still an expense. That's all I'm saying.
If everything was positive, people would doubt that we seriously took our job serious. That makes sense. I mean,
they didn't doubt us when we solved that murder with, was it that amulet? I think it was, with the curse. Was it? Yes. Like a family curse, I believe, from that news article. Now, that reporter was probably a bit, I don't know, over-enthusiastic, if you ask me. They kept asking about society.
I think they wanted to believe. Yeah.
I'm still working on this damn trolley problem. Never going to figure it out.
What's going on?
Well, there's rumors of a haunted rail car that patrols the streets at night.
Yes?
Yeah.
Does that have a name?
I don't think so. I think if you knew the name, you'd be whisked away to the other realm.
Do you know what stops? It stops at?
No. Probably somewhere next to a bar or a speakeasy.
Well, I mean, we could get out some camping gear and we could just kind of do a sit-in or something.
Right, like set up a photography.
Yeah, like a duck blind or something. I'm sure we could figure.
Just a rail car? Just one rail car?
It's a single one that rolls up in the middle of the night right after you've had a long night of drinking.
Yeah.
You get on the car and you're never seen again.
It sounds like people have been drinking some bad hooch to me.
Or perhaps kidnapping.
Only one way to find out, and that's to drink some bad hooch ourselves.
We need to test this.
Oh, dear.
I agree. Well, okay. I'll volunteer to drink. We'll keep Edward sober behind the duck blinds. We'll see what shows up.
Plenty of pictures.
Very, very noble of you, Toby. Very noble indeed. Sacrificing yourself for the greater good. Yes,
of course.
There's a noise from behind you. It's Marshall Tenner, the librarian. Normally, he tolerates the five of you talking as loud as you want in the library when nobody else is there. But you see him looking out the door, the walkway coming up to the library. So he's giving you the remind you to tone it down.
Oh dear.
A few seconds later, unexpectedly, a rather lovely young woman walks through the door, very much in fashion with the 1920s. She has on her little sort of flapper hat. She has black hair in a bob cut, a bit of flowers in it. She has a dark blue sort of jacket with a colorful vest underneath it and a skirt. And she comes walking in. She doesn't really look at you. She comes in. She goes over to Marshall and says something to her. If you guys want to do a listen roll, the Corbin Library is not a big library. It's a small library. There's really only one large table in the center where you guys are all sitting.
First roll of the night, 97.
Oh, no.
Nope. Nobody?
60 out of 60. So just a success.
Okay. So, Edward, you might be sitting at the table closest to where she is. You hear her asking for if they have a genealogy section. And Marshall says, yes, miss, you can go right there. Woman looks like she's maybe in her very early 20s. And she walks over towards the genealogical section and disappears into the stacks. Once again, it's not a large library.
Yeah. Oh, I wonder what she's looking up in the genealogy section.
Oh, I just think it's good that young people are using the library the way that they should. We must educate the young to make sure we continue to grow as a society. I think this is a good thing. More young people should come to the library, I think.
After a few moments, she steps out and she has a rather large, fat-looking tome in her hand. And as she steps out from the stacks, she looks around the room and realizes that there's not really another table. So she looks at you and she smiles and she walks over. She says, "Would you mind if I use the end of the table?"
Yes.
Go ahead, young miss.
Absolutely.
Yep. And we move aside some
smiles.
of our newspaper clutters, that kind of thing. Yeah.
She moves to the end of the table and she sets the book down and starts to look through it. And it's something on old families of New England, which she begins to immediately open and peruse page after page. And she's looking, she's running her fingers, down the names like this. And she suddenly exclaims, "Damn."
Language, young miss.
Oh, excuse me.
Is everything all right? Is there a problem? Please pardon me asking.
No, it's just that I've been having some difficulty tracing my own family's past. You see, my father passed away
I'm so sorry
about a year ago. And he left me a rather cryptic note, and I've been trying to do research where I can. Here, let me show it to you. My name is Moira Brooks.
I am Professor Jerome Mew of the Miskatonic Business School here, and these are my associates, gentlemen.
Oh, Edward Coburn, at your service, photographer.
And she hands you this note. This is from my father.
Dearest Moira, it is my hope that you will one day attain certain legacies, the exact nature of which I may not be able to divulge. To this end, I urge you to discover all you can about our family and its history. I had hoped to complete such investigations myself, but my health denies me my dream. It is my wish that you complete my work and discover our connection with the Rock. Your loving father, Jonathan Brooks. My goodness gracious. That is rather cryptic.
Does this rock mean anything to you?
I have no idea what he's talking about. I've been able to, trace the immediate family just from family records. But the trouble comes in is that I'm not technically a Brooks. I'm a Brooks by adoption. You see, my father, Jonathan Brooks, his father, my grandfather, was Winston Brooks. But everything seems to indicate that Winston was adopted. So we don't really know. My mother and father are now both passed away. My grandmother's the only one that's left.
So, Miss Moira, you are looking for the family tree of the Brooks or your actual lineage? Is that
no? I'm trying to find my
your real name.
Actual lineage. Yes.
Oh.
Do you know where Winston was from? Was he from here or somewhere else that you know of?
She looks a little sheepish when you ask her that question. And she's like, well, my whole family seems to be local from this part of New England. But I have some suspicions. I'm wondering if it's kind of a family cover-up. That's been going
are the
on.
Brooks like a large enough family that I might have heard of? Oh, you're the whatever Brooks from Federal Hill. Like, is it a?
It doesn't sound like a big famous family or anything like that.
Sometimes families have slight changes in the spelling of the name that can lead to some confusion.
Yes, I thought of that, but I haven't found that. And she looks around, realizes there's not really anybody else. She says, there may be family ties to Innsmouth.
Oh, dear. Now, Miss Moira, if you are amenable to it, my associates and I are part of a little group that thrives on these type of mysteries. If you wish, we can offer our services.
She suddenly looks at you and she says, wait a minute, weren't you in the newspaper?
Well, for a number of different things, of course, but our little group here was behind that mystery with the murder and the theft of the devilish
I read all
icon.
about that.
Yes.
Well, I wouldn't want you to go to any great trouble.
It's our raison d'etre. I said that right? My French is terrible.
Absolutely. Your pronunciation is excellent.
Thank you.
Well, one of my difficulties at this point, you see, is that my grandmother, being my only living relative at the moment, she's she's old. You know what I mean? And I'm reticent to go and visit because she does live on the outskirts of Innsmouth. And Innsmouth is not a very nice place.
Would you like us to?
Heard.
I hear it's a little unfriendly to outsiders.
Well, that and there's
they keep to themselves.
Perhaps did your dad leave any of his studies, maybe his journals and stuff, might be helpful?
It could be. They could be up in my grandmother's attic.
That could be quite helpful.
I'll be honest with you. I don't feel very safe going back to Innsmouth. The men of Innsmouth are rough. And I don't just mean because they're sea folk. I mean, they're...
Well, have no fear. Big Bruno here, and I tap Bruno on the shoulder. He'll keep us protected. Have no fear.
Oh yeah.
Bruno, to a spot hidden as she looks at you. You're a mechanic. You have muscles. You're
regular pass.
okay. What's your what is it on our sheets? Not charisma.
Appearance.
I only
appearance.
Oh, my appearance is 50, so average.
You get the look from her that she might be a little bit attracted to you.
Hey,
maybe your muscles or whatever.
Ooh.
Oh dear.
She says, "Well, I mean, I don't want to trouble you too much, but I mean, if we went there, we could see what we could find, and maybe crack this family mystery."
What do you say, members of the Arcane Society? Shall we take on this case on behalf of Miss Moira?
This is what we live and breathe for.
Of course.
5 votes to go with.
Absolutely.
Well, I am very grateful then. I don't have a great deal of money to pay if you have a fee.
Oh, this one's on the house. Right, guys?
I give Bruno a look and shrug, but of course. Yeah. It'll be out of your wage, young man, but yes, of course.
So, what shall we do?
Perhaps we should go gather some of our equipment and then come back in about half an hour's time and all go to your grandmother's house.
Yeah, maybe we'll plan to stay the night over. Get a lovely room by the sea.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I don't think that's such a good idea. Perhaps, my grandmother's house is a large house. We could stay there, but I wouldn't try to get a house in Innsmouth. Maybe we should wait until tomorrow and drive early so that we can get in and out. I don't know. I don't want you to risk. It's not enough. There's a large criminal element.
Yeah, I've surveyed up in that area, and it's not. Yeah, they're not friendly people. Of course, some people are not really friendly to surveyors because they think I'm going to steal their land. But they're especially prickly.
So based on the roads, Bart, do you suggest a trip in the morning?
I kind of agree with her. I think a trip in the morning would be good. It would also give us a little bit of extra time to gather our things. If we wanted to take anything special with us, we would have time to do that. So, yeah. But if the group is interested in going tonight, we'll do the best we can.
The one or two bloody noses ever got doing direct sales was in Innsmouth. So, yeah. Their ladies can really pack a punch when they feel like it.
Oh.
Well, it technically it is morning right now. I mean, it's probably about 9:30, 10. Innsmouth is probably about an hour.
Oh,
yeah.
Let's actually, we still need to go back to our flats or apartments or what have you and gather a few things. Maybe.
Well, I'll wait for you here then. I'll see if I can find anything more in the stacks.
Absolutely. We'll meet, let's say at noon, right back here, and then head off.
Excellent.
Okay.
Perfect.
So you guys are all going to head quickly home. Are you all going to take your respective? Some of you probably walk because it's not that far.
I live on campus, so yeah.
I have a car because sometimes I have to go out of town to do sales. So
so cars will be a thing. And if you want, we can give. Well, she probably has a car as well. No, she probably came in on the bus.
I have a credit of 70, so I probably have a car somewhere.
And cars is you could have a big old touring car, so you could fit easily 8 people in there if you wanted to.
Perfect.
All right, that works.
All right, so you guys probably want to bring some stuff. Do you want to do anything other than bring, you tell me what you want to bring.
I think to be safe, firearms, the normal lanterns, that kind of thing, just in case we run the rough elements.
I'll bring a toolbox just in case the old lady's lights need fixing.
Yeah.
I'll bring my camera, plenty of film, a couple notepads, couple pens, couple pencils, toss that into my satchel, and a lantern as well. And a spare coat and some gloves. But I'm also this is a as you did mention, Professor, this is sort of a rough and tumble place. I'll wrap my little 38 special, just wrap it up and put it in my satchel. I'm not carrying it with me. It's just good. I'll pack it and move it for an overnight stay.
Do you gentlemen believe we'll need provisions, food? I mean, it is just one day, so probably no.
Just a day, maybe two.
So no camping gear then. Okay.
Probably not. I'm gonna bring compass with me, notepad, pen, that kind of stuff. I've got a firearm, 38. I'll bring with me.
I'm bringing my go ahead.
I'll bring one of my long tape measures, like a 50-footer. Don't know why, but I'll just bring it. I think it's good for me.
Perfect. So we each go and get our own sort of equipment. Yeah.
All right. So you meet back up after just after lunch, before noon. And Moira's there. She climbs into the back seat of your town car, and off you go. Innsmouth is a coastal town, fisherman's village. You leave what feels like New England proper, where there are towns and cities and houses and stuff, and you end up on a fairly lonely road. It heads towards the coast, and then when it reaches the coast, there are cliffs and embankments going down towards the beach and the ocean. And up ahead of you in the distance, you can see Innsmouth is sort of clustered furtively in this cove. But you don't go down into it. You take a side road. You're skirting around the outer edges of it, up higher on the cliff. And eventually you come to a small dirt road that leads to an old house. It's a big house. Looks like at one point it might have been painted white or maybe a light blue color. But at this point, the paint is chipping. The yard is in disarray. The picket fence has got a lot of bits of it that are falling apart. It hasn't really been maintained in a long time. But it's got good foundations. It's a strong house sitting there on the cliffs. And she directs you to pull up. There are no other cars there. And you can see as you're approaching, there is a mailbox that says Brooks attached to it. You pull into the yard, park the car, and get out. Lots of weeds. Some spring flowers are popping up, but they're just more weeds, as they will do. And she says, well, this is it.
It's a charming place, charming.
Well, you're very kind for saying such a thing.
Miss Moira, what else can you tell us about your grandmother? What's her name to start, for example?
My grandmother's name is Joy.
Joy.
Joy Brooks. Originally, her maiden name is Harris.
Sorry, what was her maiden name?
Harris.
Harris. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, here, I drew this while you guys were out. I sat down and I drew this in the library. The family that I do know, at least how it's all sort of connected. So here I am at the bottom, Moira, my father Jonathan and my mother Gertrude. Her maiden name was Wallace. And Winston was my grandfather. and Joy was his wife. And then he was adopted by Peggy Brooks in the family. And they had one son, Peggy and Samuel, and he died. And Winston was the survivor, so he sort of inherited. But we don't know who Winston's parents actually were.
So it seems like they adopted your grandfather after the death of their son Jonah.
Well, yes, it was after. Possibly because they had lost their son. And,
absolutely.
But where he came from, we just don't know. There might be more information, like I say, up in the attic, and you can see it's a big attic.
Looking at the family tree again, it seems like do I see like any patterns in like age of when people died or things like that?
Not particularly.
Like it seems like Winston died like fairly young at what, 20 something? If I'm looking at the tree correctly.
Like 20
27, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Samuel Brooks died at the same time that Joanna Brooks died.
Yeah. So then Peggy just adopted after both of them died, maybe from the same thing or same events.
Oh.
Huh.
They might have died together in an accident or something.
Right,
yes.
right.
She raised him alone then. Okay. Interesting.
Does the house look like it has electricity?
Probably not. Yeah, probably not. It'd be a kerosene lamps they'd have.
Makes sense.
Yeah, no telephone or anything like that here.
Yeah, probably go down to the local store to make a call.
Yeah.
I would like you all to do spot hiddens as you're walking up towards the house.
Ooh. 20. Ooh.
Better than 97. I got 74, still a fail.
Oh my gosh. That is a hard pass.
Anyone else except Stu? Edward? Edward. So let me picture the scene. You're walking across the yard. Up there's like a cobblestone footing, on the thing, going up to a raised porch. And the porch runs almost all the way around the house. White picket. And as you step up onto the porch, you with your camera, you turn around to take a picture of the landscape around you. It's bleak. It's somewhat blasted, weed encrusted, but kind of beautiful in a sort of bleak portrait sort of manner. But you notice something out of the corner of your eye, and when you turn your camera towards it, you see down the hill where you had driven past maybe 10 minutes ago, coming up this hill towards the cliff. You see a man way off. He's standing there looking in your direction, looking up at the house with his hands akimbo. And after he stands there for a few moments, you see him go and get into a small vehicle car, which he immediately starts up, turns around, and heads into the village, into Innsmouth. But you get the distinct feeling that he was watching you guys.
Watching. Yeah.
Yeah. But he was maybe half a mile away, so really hard to see. You could see him a little bit in your camera.
Yeah. But, it looks like we had a tail coming up here. See that car speeding away there. That gentleman was out looking at us.
You say that out loud, and when you do, Moira's eyebrows go up, and she's like, "Oh, please, inside."
As we walk in, I go and ask Miss Moira, is there something you're not telling us about the past few days, weeks, things have been happening to you since you received this letter?
This is just a terrible town. Everybody's watching everybody. Everybody's into everybody's business.
Have they been close to you even outside of town near Arkham? Or...
No, it's nothing. I'm sure it's nothing.
I can't help but tell you haven't answered my question. Do you see them following you while you were in Arkham? Please, we're all friends here.
Well, she looks rather sheepish, and she says, "All right. Well, let's come inside, and I'll tell you my situation currently." See, I tried to find out information. She brings you inside.
Yeah.
The place is clean, but it's not neat. It's obviously that there's one old lady living here, and she can't really very well take care of herself. She comes out of the kitchen, and you immediately can tell that although she's rather friendly and nice, she's also pretty senile. And she acts like she hasn't seen Moira in years. So where have you been? And, where is my sister and my husband? And Moira's like, she looks at you and she tries to calm her grandmother down. Says, Grandma, come here, come sit in the kitchen. We'll make some tea. And she looks at you and she says, I'll bring you some tea. Make yourself at home.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you.
And they go in there for a few minutes. So for a few minutes, you're alone in this room. It's definitely a lot of nautical sort of feel to it. And there's a vague, smell, old people smell.
Do we see photos, family portraits, that kind of thing in the living room?
Yeah, quite a few of them. Do a spot hidden to see what you sort of find.
Oh my gosh, this is my lucky night.
14. So that's a...
I got distracted by a ship in a bottle and I'm staring at it.
That's a hard success.
Extreme as well.
Wow.
04.
Okay.
It's your photographer skills.
It is, yeah.
What you find is you do find quite a few family photos. People that you're sort of guessing, you can see resemblances to Moira in her, what you assume is her father and mother, maybe grandfather. But none of the pictures are of old people. They're all young people. You saw from the genealogy that a lot of people tend to die young. So you see a lot of that. Apparently, Granny Brooks is the oldest one, and she's still kicking. She was born in 1842, if you recall. So she's probably, in her 80s? Moira comes back out, and she brings you some tea and sits down. She says, all right, I'll level with you. I started my search here in Innsmouth, obviously. I was not well received. People in this town just don't like you to go nosing around. She says there's this nasty fellow named Noah Elliott, and he has been harassing me for some time. I think he finds me attractive in a way that makes me very uncomfortable.
What's he look like?
Well, how many people from Innsmouth have you met?
Not too many.
None.
Well, honestly, he looks like a frog, but the people of this town are rather malformed. I think there was a lot of inbreeding years and years ago. But yes, he's not a pleasant fellow, and not a pleasant man to get along with. And I think that he's got connections with the criminal element. Him and his buddy Joe Memphis. I don't know who you saw, but I also don't know why he would be watching the house, except that he might still be interested in me.
Do we notice the Innsmouth look in any of the photos in the living room? Okay.
No. And of course, Moira has no Innsmouth look to her.
Has anyone from Innsmouth come up to the house and actually trespassed on your property, or has it just been from afar in town that they've been harassing you?
Well, the family has been here since the 1700s. So I'm sure that lots of people from Innsmouth have been on our property. I mean, this is technically Innsmouth. Whether we mingle with the other families or not, I mean, you kind of have to if you live here, but we're an older family, so, there is some level of respect. It's just over the years, this really bad element has sort of moved into the town, and I just would like someday to just pick up and go and leave, but Granny,
Perhaps now would be a good time to look at some of your grandfather's effects, if you can show the way, and we can also chat with Joy to see if she knows anything.
And your dad's effects as well.
Of course.
Well, I'll take you upstairs. Best to just leave, Granny alone. She's confused all the time, and I don't want to make her feel uncomfortable. I try to make her as comfortable as possible.
Of course.
How do you get your food here? Do you buy it?
Well,
from
I go
town?
shopping. Yeah. I mean, there are places in town where you can get groceries and things like that. If you don't mind doing business with, I mean, there's an element of this town that's also quite decent.
Anyone in particular in town that might be helpful if we run into problems? These friendly elements.
I don't know. The problem is that the police force here is just as corrupt.
Of course.
They're probably all in on the whole thing. Best to just interact with them as little as possible.
Where's to live
So
by?
she takes you up the stairs. You go to the second floor, and then she takes you to another stairs that leads up to a door into the attic, and up you go in there. Now, it's accumulated 200 years of stuff that's up here in the attic, boxes and things like that. A lot of the stuff, she tells you, a lot of the stuff towards the back, the stuff that's completely covered in dust and cobwebs, isn't going to be anything recent, so we're hoping to find stuff that's not much older than 100 years or younger than 100 years. So you guys want to split up and start looking?
Absolutely.
Yep. Break it into sections and start looking first.
Right. And as we're looking, I'm going to whisper to you, sir, one of the gentlemen, despite Miss Moira's hesitation, I think a confused Joy Brooks might have information, especially if she thinks we're Samuel or Jonah or someone that she's willing to speak to freely.
Good point. Perhaps we could wander down there at some point and see if she's amiable for some sandwiches and tea or something.
Sharp insight, Toby, as always. Sharp insight. So yes, we divide and conquer the attic.
I'm going to be looking for anything like warlike, just because I'm kind of that way. I'm just kind of dumb. I don't understand any reading.
Yeah, there is definitely some stuff Looks like from World War One. Not much, though. There probably wasn't much of a family involvement in that, but a little bit.
It's just a few.
You find mostly old clothing, lots and lots of I don't know, knickknacks and pieces of furniture and odd stuff like that.
When people have children or whatever, they often have little boxes they collect, like their shoes and hair and like stuff. So I'm looking for baby keepsake boxes, because if we find one for the grandfather, that might have some stuff in it.
Okay. Yeah. So I would like Tobias then to do a spot hidden roll. So you're looking around. There are lots of little boxes with things in them.
Just a regular success, if that's good enough.
Regular success. Okay. So it takes you, do this, roll a 1d4.
Okay. Four. Of course.
4. All right. So let's do it this way. It's going to take you about 4 hours before you run across the box. So this is all you guys looking through stuff and going through stuff. So that's going to take you into the
by 6 o'clock.
Afternoon. Did you want to do anything before that moment happens? You guys were talking about grilling the old lady.
Right. Well, I want to look for financial ledgers, like their ledgers, their books, how they basically keep their house afloat.
Okay. Why don't you do a spot hidden for that?
All right. Spot hidden. Can I do a library use because it's 5 points higher?
Okay.
Like digging through sort of books.
It's not really a library.
Okay, fair enough. I'll do spot hidden. Let's see. Ooh, 36 pass. Normal success.
So you do find a sort of a family ledger book. You start looking through it, and what you're expecting to see isn't what you see. You see, instead of the men working or doing things where they're making money, there seems to be a periodic deposition into their accounts of a large amount of money. It doesn't say exactly what, but how well did you get a regular roll?
I got a regular roll, but I have a fairly high accounting roll. So if there's any way to, based on
why don't you roll accounting as well?
Okay. Ooh, wait. Let's see. I'm going to spend 1 point of luck to get a critical success.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, you find, after looking at this for a little while, you find finally one interesting account entry that says silver bars. That they seem to be receiving a large amount of money in the form of silver bars that are deposited in the Bank of Innsmouth on a fairly regular basis. And that went on for at least 20 or 30 years.
What time frame is that? Do I know?
That would have been within the last 50 years or so.
Oh, wow.
The records don't go back that far, but they're definitely getting their money from, it says silver bars.
And it's still happening, or did it stop abruptly?
It's no longer happening, correct.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Yeah, it stopped a while back, but it's an odd, well, you're not sure that it's all from silver, but
sure.
the one thing that you did, there was something about silver bars way, way back.
Right.
The first couple of entries are somewhere around 1839 and after.
Wow, quite a while ago.
When did the two men die in the family? Was it 1838? You remember?
1835.
35. Yes. Samuel Brooke died in 1835.
Right. It's around the time right after the father was born and possibly adopted.
Yeah.
Huh.
Perhaps payment for the adoption.
A conjecture at this point, but interesting correlation, potentially.
Do any of the five of us kind of look like any of the Brooks in the pictures? Like, who would be a good candidate to go and talk to Joy?
Any of you? No.
Not really?
Well, I mean, maybe some. So I don't know how old you guys are.
I'm 45.
24. I mean, I don't look like me.
Well, if you're in your 20s, maybe.
Yeah. I'm 25.
Yeah, the younger guys would probably be easier for her to maybe you're thinking maybe mistake you for other members of the family if she's.
So perhaps you young men should chat with Miss Joy Brooks, and see what you can find.
And actually, what was I going to say? That Troy, you are still looking. Remember, you're 4 hours of looking. So.
Right. I would like to peel off and look specifically for Moira's dad's effects, such as a journal, his studies, something like that.
Okay.
If he had his own bedroom or his own study, or maybe his stuff was moved to the attic, whatever, I try to find out.
She'll take you there and see if you guys can find anything.
Thank you so much.
Let's
see. I wonder if this place has gas. Probably not, right? No gas out here.
No, it's coal burning.
Yikes.
What about you, Mr. Bard? And anything catch your eye?
I was kind of nosing around. I'm looking for things like Bibles. People write down births and deaths in Bibles.
That's true.
Good point.
Maps, anything like that, related to the land ownership.
So in your case, David, I'll just say that's really a good place to look for things like genealogies. You do find some Bibles with some genealogies, but it's nothing more than what Moira's already found going back. It might go back a little farther on Samuel Brooks, but now it's outside of the realm of what the family that you're looking for.
Okay. I say, Bard, do you know of any silver mines or mining really in general nearby? Look at these entries talking about silver bars for the past 20 years. So there must be a mine or something.
That's a significant amount of money right there.
Material, yes.
Yeah, it's I mean, do I know anything about silver mines in this area?
You're a surveyor, so what would that knowledge, what would be your best role for that knowledge? History, local. You can tell me what you want to roll. Otherwise, you can roll luck if that's your best role.
Surveying is probably my best skill in that particular area. Yeah. Oh, yay. That is a regular pass.
Okay. So you know of no mines anywhere in the vicinity. The nearest silver mines you can think of would be north, maybe in Maine or Canada. But that's the nearest ones. You also probably know that some of the Innsmouth folk, the Marshes and the Bishops, they have a smelter in the town, and they do seem to come up with a lot of gold from somewhere. But it's always been assumed that ever since Obed Marsh, way back when, who traveled the South Seas, that there may be trade between here and other exotic places where they get their metal from. There's no mines here.
Yeah. They don't seem to have any mines in the area. They do have a smelter in town, which is kind of interesting. And rumor has it that they are able to get gold in large quantities from somewhere.
Curious. I wonder, obviously there are, actually note the Bank Secrecy Act, I don't think it's around yet. But perhaps we can loosen some tongues, and the Innsmouth Bank might help us understand who's been depositing all this money. Assuming, this not full of, locals, maybe not.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. Because we don't know the nature of why the payments were being made, whether it was criminal or completely legitimate business transactions. So, yeah, and there's also the possibility of, money laundering maybe going on.
Yeah.
As well.
Moira might add that might be very likely.
Yeah. Because you got, if you're bringing in precious metals and you want to change it for cash, you got to figure out some way to do it.
Absolutely. And then higher or lower than fair market value, that's how you get the money laundering happening. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah.
On the other hand, though, there's no real infrastructure in terms of transportation coming in here, or there's a couple roads.
Well, there's the sea.
Yeah, do they have a big? I guess they must have a big port. Or
it's not a big port, but it is a big fishing village.
Yeah.
By what you would call modern standards, it's still pretty primitive. Boston would be the big place.
It wouldn't be big enough to take a cargo ship, though, or anything like that.
So you're thinking smuggling, Bruno?
Not a modern cargo ship.
I don't know. I just am suspicious of any town that doesn't have a train linked up to it.
And a trolley?
Well, of course.
Yeah, the most repairs you do here is a bus. All right, somebody was going to go downstairs and talk to Granny Joy.
Going to be Bruno because I'm stuck in looking for stuff.
Right, I'm still looking up those silver bars, I guess.
And
that's pretty immoral, but I'll do it if I have to.
It's for the good. It's for the young man.
You're a ladies' man, Bruno. It's going to work. She's going to
charm.
Yeah.
I'll go talk to her.
Just be natural.
Yeah, don't act nervous at all.
So you wander downstairs, and Granny is fussing about the kitchen. You think that she might be attempting to make cookies or something, though she might be leaving out some of the ingredients.
Oh dear. Do you need any help with that, ma'am?
Oh, Sonny, when did you get here? I haven't seen you in so long. Come to visit me, have you?
Yeah, of course.
Sit. I'll make you some coffee.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Joy. I'll sit down.
Now, how have you been ever since you moved to Kingsport? I haven't seen you. Are you still dating that young woman? What was her name? Tracy? And she goes on and on and on about this. How did you want to deal with it?
I guess I'm going to redirect the conversation to the dead guy. So to Winston Brooks, I'll say, yeah, by the way, how's Winston? I haven't heard from him in a while.
Winston?
Yeah, Winston, your husband.
Oh, well, I mean, I haven't seen him in a while. I wonder where he is. And she looks out the window. She says, I've been meaning to tell him that he needs to fix the fence. The fence outside is very damaged. We had that storm, that nor'easter a few years ago.
Tell me some more about Winston. I never got to know him that well. What was his I know he was adopted. What, like, do you know anything about his family before that?
Oh, yes, he was adopted. No, I don't know anything about who his real family was, but we're going to keep jumping back to that thing as well. She says, but his mother, Peggy, she was a rather lovely woman. Very, very sad because her husband and her son had died. They had died in a car accident, or was it on a bus, or something like that. So she was left alone, and that fellow came and brought her the boy, Winston, and she adopted him.
Oh.
And she goes off on a tangent on other stuff.
Okay, I'll just sit there feeling very, very guilty.
Hey. All right, so I'll say about 4 hours have gone by, and Tobias, you are moving stuff around, and there is a small ornate box. Looks kind of like a jewelry box, and you pick it up, and inside of it is a rather unusual looking medallion. It seems to be made of some sort of greenish soapstone, malachite, or something. The chain is completely untarnished, so it's probably pure gold. It's fairly heavy, and maybe about the size of a silver dollar or so. And accompanying it is a folded up letter. You probably alert everybody when you find it.
Oh, yeah.
Moira.
I'll say like Eureka. Dear Miss Brooks, I thank you for your kind agreement in becoming the guardian of the child Winston. He's without the guidance of a proper mother, and I feel that he will reward your love by easing the pain of the loss of your own husband and son in the storms of 3 years past. Well, it's not a car accident. The silver I have supplied will provide for his upbringing and your comfort. I shall continue to reimburse your efforts with further payments in the years to come, for tomorrow will always bring more wealth, but the guiding hand of tenderness and love should not be delayed. I also entrust you the trinket enclosed. It has no monetary value, but I wish Winston to have it. I entreat you to show the child kindness and ask you to endeavor to not let the sins of his father fall upon the souls of his son. Yours faithfully, Bartholomew Tagg, Skivern Light.
And Moira hears that, and she says, "Look, let me see this trinket." And it's a necklace. There is, but it's almost runic. You're not sure what the language is. Doesn't look like anything at all, but it's got it's etched into it. Go ahead.
Do we know what Skivern Light is? What that references to? Is that like a lighthouse or a town?
Well, it sounds like the name of a lighthouse, but not one that you're familiar with.
Perhaps some of the locals might be familiar, like Joy.
Bartholomew Tagg. Now there's a new name. Was Winston's father Bartholomew Tagg?
Edward, it might make sense to take pictures of this amulet for our records.
Both sides.
I think I'll keep it, she says. She says, this is a my link to my family. So she puts it on, and she immediately turns into it. No, she puts it on. It doesn't really go with the clothes that she's wearing right now, but it's not that far off.
No, I might urge a young lady, while you keep it on, perhaps not too obviously. Like you mentioned, the people in town might, react differently. So perhaps
she sort of tucks it underneath. She says, well, we have a name. So is it back to some genealogies?
We could be doing that back in Arkham if we're worried about the locals.
And see if we can, find out what Skivern Light is.
Yeah, who knows how far away that could be from there.
Do I smell cookies or something burning?
They smell very good.
Or something.
Just
something.
Bruno probably comes back upstairs, rolling his eyes.
Anything of interest, young man, from talking to Miss Joy?
Not really, other than that the guy's father did indeed die in some sort of accident, although she couldn't identify what kind of accident it was. She said it was a bus accident, which seems unlikely in 1835 or whenever he died.
The letter here says accident at sea. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
And this was a whaling town at one point, wasn't it? So that easily could have been. I think it was whaling, wasn't it? Was Innsmouth whaling, or was it something?
Fishing, certainly.
Just fishing. Oh, just fishing. Okay. So it wasn't like Nantucket or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we should go back to Arkham and get some of David's maps. I'm sure he has something about he could find a lighthouse if it was on any map.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is getting dark, so best we be off, and yes.
All right, Granny, I'll be back. And you all go outside. When you step into the porch, however, you notice down the road, maybe football field away, an American football field away, there is a car parked, and there are two gentlemen sitting inside of the car. I would use gentlemen loosely. They're male. They're dressed like you would expect Innsmouth folk to dress. They're, in overcoats and so forth. They're sitting there, and they are definitely watching the house as you guys come out. Moira looks in that direction, and she's just like, just get in the car and just drive past them.
Yep.
Are these the same gentlemen from before, Ed?
Maybe. I mean, like I say, you couldn't really see them or see the one very well before.
Yeah. Don't let them see our faces. We don't need to make it any easier for them.
Maybe we should check if their cars broke down, or if we need to break them down.
Moira says, "I wouldn't stop."
These look like the kind of people that have Tommy guns.
Yeah, or if we mess with them, they might escalate the messing with us.
Yeah.
So maybe we just keep it on the low and low.
Well, you say the word Tommy gun, and that makes me, I want to keep driving.
Yeah. We're not going to do a Chicago style here for now.
Yeah, don't want any trouble.
So you hop back into the car, and Moira sits herself in the middle of the back seat with one of you on either side.
Cover her with a coat, yeah.
And she doesn't completely cover up, but she does kind of hunker down a little. Obviously, they could already see her. The way she's dressed, it's very distinctive. She glances back at the house, a little nervous, because Granny's there. But she says, drive on. So, who's driving? Is it the professor's car?
Yeah, technically it is my car. I suppose in the hurry, we wouldn't have thought about picking the best driver, so I guess I would be the one driving.
Yeah.
All right. So you hop in and you start going. You're heading straight towards it.
Wait, two hands.
And you get the impression that they might be getting ready to start their engine as you get up to them. Indeed, the two gentlemen that are, once again, gentlemen, the two men that are sitting in the car, their general facial cast is ugly. They're wearing hats, which kind of shade their faces a bit. But you can see one of them he's got that kind of hostile grin, like you're not sure whether it's a grin or whether it's a grimace. Like he's like this as you go by, and you can visibly hear him sort of hiss as you drive by, if you are just going to drive by.
Professor, right. Could you put some lead in your feet?
Yeah, and anticipate mischief, as it were. Like they might like ram into the car or something. But yes, just keep on driving. Yeah, pedal to the metal. At the moment, their car was facing in the other direction. Right. But as soon as you're past them, you do see the lights on the back of their car light up, and they go forward maybe 100 feet, and then actually use Moira's grandmother's drive to make a U-turn and then come back out. And they're following you, but they're not following you from very close. Their jalopy is not as new and well maintained as yours is. Eventually you turn a corner, you turn on a road, and you lose them. But you do think that if they could have caught you, they would have. It seems, gentlemen, that next time we come here, we might want 2 vehicles just to provide alternatives.
I have my old 1919 pickup truck.
Have they always been like this, Miss Moira, or has things escalated recently?
Well, she looks nervous and upset that this just now happened. And she's sitting there sort of looking down, and she looks up at you and she says, "Okay, I shot him."
You poor dear. And you missed? I mean, who did you shoot?
I shot Noah. Mm-hmm. He was just getting a little too personal and following me around, so I shot him. Obviously I didn't kill him.
Yeah.
And he's kind of upset about it.
I think
understandably.
Yeah.
This would have been useful to know, young miss.
Yeah.
Got the hurricane warning?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got
the safety alert.
I got it on my phone too, yeah.
What category force, whatever is it?
It's Hillary, right?
Away.
Yeah, it's just a tropical storm.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I'm like so far from the coast, way out in the desert.
Well, they say it's going to hit the desert the hardest.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that would be nice though. Getting rain.
It said only 5 inches, so it's not going to be hopefully a disaster.
All right, so you drive on. It takes you to maybe about 7 p.m. You arrive back in Arkham. Something about it is you're kind of glad to see the familiar Arkham again. Where do you want to go in Arkham?
Do you care to join us for evening meal, Miss Moira? We can talk through the day's events, and then where are you staying? We could drop you off.
Well, I really hadn't planned that far ahead. I suppose I can get a hotel.
Join us for supper first. Yeah.
So you join her for supper, or she joins you for supper. Yeah. Is there anything you want to go for? Now, I should also mention that Corbin Library is kind of your home base. You guys do have keys to the library because you sometimes work there late into the evening. Okay. Marshall Tenner completely trusts you guys. So
Well,
if you need to do stuff, you can still
before
do it
dinner. I'll see if I can grab anything on lighthouses of the area to bring to dinner to have us go over.
Absolutely. And I can check with the local dormitories here at the Miskatonic and see if they have any spare rooms that students aren't using. I'm sure they'll be more than glad to do me a little favor.
Okay. That sounds completely reasonable. All right. So, Tobias, do a library roll, I guess.
04.
You're the archivist.
Yep, I'm good at library use, surprisingly. So that is a extreme success. I could burn some luck for a 01, but that'd be silly.
No. So you're looking through the records. Lighthouses are very popular in New England, and you finally find a reference to Skiven Rock.
Concerning the history of Skiven Rock Lighthouse and its environs. In eastern Massachusetts, the coast between Rockport and Newburyport is quite treacherous to sailing vessels, and though many find the fishing in this area to be plentiful, few risk the many reefs and small rocky islands. Most notable among these are Devil's Reef, Fishhead Island, and Skiven Rock. Early shipwrecks are plentiful, and many legends have sprung up around these deadly sea lane obstacles. In 1748, construction began on Skiven Rock Lighthouse. This proved to be a long and difficult process, with the building crews not only having a treacherous commute back and forth to the rock, but they also had to contend with constantly shifting weather patterns and terrible storms that threatened to do all their previous work. In 1750, the lighthouse was completed. The lighthouse was first kept by two hardy souls, Jacob Beaverton and Manny West. This doesn't match anything you know so far. They kept the light burning for nearly 30 years before retiring. Various other people manned the light in subsequent years. In 1821, a wave-powered foghorn was installed, but this proved ineffective since shortly thereafter a hurricane hit the rock and destroyed it. The lighthouse was badly damaged and both keepers were lost to the storm. In 1822, in order to begin repairs, the lighthouse was once again manned, this time by an ex-sailor, Andrew Muir, and a New England artist by the name of Bartholomew Tagg. By 1924, they completed repairs and installed a new foghorn. Unfortunately, in May of that year, Andrew Muir was swept out to sea, caught unawares by a wave. An inquiry followed in which Mr. Tagg was found innocent of any wrongdoing. Bartholomew Tagg manned the Skiven Lighthouse until his death in 1838. It is believed he was also lost to the sea. Shortly thereafter, because of changes in shipping lanes, it was decided to abandon the lighthouse. No one has kept it since. Oh, yes, that's a good guess. Yeah, Muir could be the father. So, 1838. When was the note to the mother? It was 1836 or 1820? What was it?
I don't think the note was dated, was it?
I thought there was some kind of. Well, when was the boy adopted?
The boy was born the same year.
1838.
Quite the coincidence.
So 1838, father dies, boy gets adopted.
Well, I think the father died in 24. If we think Muir is...
The boy's father. Yeah, Muir. Yeah.
Okay. Right, Muir got swept out in 1824, and then Tagg died in 1838, or disappeared.
Disappeared, same year that the boy got adopted.
Correct.
Okay. Do we have a map where this lighthouse would have been placed?
And is this the rock referenced in the letter? Very likely.
You don't have any old sea maps in the library.
Maybe if I can find some old captain's journals from the time period, they might refer to having to navigate the light, and that might give us a clue. That can be for later work. I mean, at least we got to start.
Okay. Yeah, by now it's probably getting late evening. Moira's like, you have been so helpful in finding this information. I think there may be more clues, of course, once we can find out where this Skiven Rock is. It sounds really treacherous getting out there. And there's nobody, it hasn't been used, so it's got to be dilapidated at this point.
We'd have to commandeer a boat and get a decent captain.
Well,
yep. Oh, go ahead, Bruno.
I've definitely had some run-ins with longshoremen. I mostly on the port operating end, heavy machinery end, not so much on the sailor end, but I'm sure I could try and get some inroads.
Yeah.
And Bard, do you have I'm sure you have associates who've surveyed or know about that area. Maybe that's someone you can, reach out to.
Yeah, I can certainly make some phone calls. Yep.
Okay. Do you want to do any of that this evening, or wait until daytime working?
I love burning the midnight oil. I love for that. So I'm going to get a big pot of coffee, get a stack of captain's journals, and start looking for references to the rock and roots and things like that.
Well, I have some papers to grade, gentlemen, so I do need to, go back to my office, but I shall meet you all tomorrow morning right here.
Got it.
I may be asleep, but I'll write down the notes. They'll be lying on top of me probably.
So, Tobias, you do end up running across a number of references to Skivern Light, all of them from the very early 1800s, maybe the late 1700s, but they're not giving you any indication of where it is. It's off the coast of New England.
Can I kind of try to pierce out based on where they say they're going to get a likely location?
Very likely they're traveling, there's sea lanes, of commerce going up and down the eastern seaboard. So it just happens to be that, in those treacherous waters, there are a number of lighthouses all along to keep the sailors away from the rocks. Skivern Rock, they don't really go into much detail because they talk about it as if, well, yeah, we just passed Skivern Rock and we're on our way to, Gloucester or Newburyport.
Right. So that might at least narrow down a map where I could say, well, it's got to be on this map somewhere because here's where they were going, here's where they left, here's the treacherous coastline.
Between Rockport and Newburyport, but that's hundreds of miles of coastline.
Got to be somewhere that was treacherous that they don't need to do anymore. Some kind of process of elimination for route changes, or
is there like
you'd have to find sea charts.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I was going to ask if there was any kind of like Coast Guard at this point in time.
I don't know that there is, but David, go ahead and roll survey. You're looking for survey maps and things like that. And where are you doing this? Because they're not going to be in the library.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking is like if there would be some kind of nautical organization that would fund lighthouses or would have.
Well, yeah, they're all government ran. So you should find references to them in various, survey government things. Your specialty is almost entirely land survey.
Yeah.
So the only place that you can come up, well, there's a couple of places that are maybe where you would find more complete versions of New England maps. They would be like in various towns like Newburyport or Roxport or maybe in Innsmouth itself. There's a reference to the Ross and Hogg Insurance Company, the old Custom House, the Assembly Hall, places like that might have records.
Yeah.
However, you don't find anything concrete Did you do a survey room?
No, not with that. 92.
Okay.
He was almost charged with the murder of the guy. Is there any court cases about Mr. Tagg that might lead us to something about this? Like he was cleared, so there must have been some investigation. So there's either a state organization that deals with lighthouses that cleared him, or somebody did, or they would have had to report on the guy's death. So there might be like, here is the body responsible for lighthouses. They have to have reports on replacing the keepers.
Do an intelligence roll.
Okay. Regular success.
Okay. Yeah, there's definitely, you can find a federal, well, you don't know that you can find a federal record here in Arkham, but there would be federal records of investigations such as this. However, lighthouse people are notorious for, how do you prove anything? It's a treacherous, dangerous job. All it takes is a wave to knock you off the rocks and into the sea, and you're lost, and there's no way to prove that it was an accident or prove that that you didn't push the guy over. So without a body, without any physical evidence, they just have to automatically say it wasn't the guy's fault. Yeah, there's no way to indicate why. I mean, in fact, in most cases, that's going to be it. It's just automatically not his fault. You're innocent until you're proven guilty.
Right.
And
so maybe
that's how the criminal element gets rid of all the bodies, so that you don't have a body, you don't have a case.
Habeas corpus or whatever.
Habeas corpus, yeah.
Does the lighthouse organization have the coordinates of the lighthouses, though, or a map of their position?
Not in this case. You don't seem to be able to find that information because it was broken. It was broken down basically in 1838, and it hasn't been maintained. None of the historical societies are even interested in it because they've got lighthouses everywhere that they are maintaining and that they are going out and painting and making really pretty. And
Yeah. Go ahead.
There might be specific locations if we approached it from the Coast Guard perspective, as you mentioned earlier about the Coast Guard. They would have rescue all sorts of seagoing issues or accidents. They keep logs of all that sort of thing, and if a lighthouse was ever in use, I'm sure would be in their reports, because they have pretty thorough reports. Could we not backtrack its location from that? I'm sure it's
that might be it. The other thing I was thinking is we don't have any famous New England artists who actually like to paint lighthouses. That maybe there's a series or something I could look for. Maybe someone sketched it or painted it or something. Seems like the kind of thing that a man with too much time in his hands might get into.
There definitely was a Coast Guard. Coast Guard was established in 1790.
Oh, wow. That's old.
Alexander Hamilton.
But they also seem to be ported out of larger ports where there is a lot of commerce. In this case, there's no commerce up in that direction anymore, so no Coast Guard. At least the records would have stopped a long time ago.
Well, someone renovated
that'll take some looking.
Someone renovated it and built it. There has to be some records related to the building and renovating of it. They put in the new foghorn. Maybe there's a purchase or something. I mean, there's a company that makes foghorns. They had to deliver.
Right. And that insurance company, right? If it was repaired based on the,
Insurance company, foghorn manufacturer.
This was all 100 years ago, though. So that might...
Insurance companies keep good records. So.
Yeah, and you do have a reference to the, what was it again? The Raws, and you should know better than to turn the page. The Raws and Hogg Insurance Company, which was based out of Innsmouth.
Before you even said it, I had a feeling that would be this. Of course, it was out of
Also, the implication on the piece of information you found on Skivern Rock is that it was Andrew Muir and Bartholomew Tagg who began to do the renovations in 1822.
Right, they did it themselves.
Right. Is Tagg a famous artist by any way, shape, or form? Things he's done, is that?
You've never seen a painting by Tagg.
Okay.
And then the letter also mentioned the places it's protecting peoples from. Devil's Reef. And what was the other two?
Devil's Reef, Fishhead Island.
So if we locate those on a map, that'll give us a better sense of where it should be. Is Devil's Reef on a map?
Not that you could find.
It sounds like it's off the coast of Innsmouth.
I'm sure it's going to turn out to be because we don't.
Because the insurance company is based in Innsmouth. So.
Yeah.
If we went to Innsmouth and just sort of, I know it's not overly friendly, but if we go to enough pubs or taverns and just sort of chat a little, we might get some information that way.
You might
or financially.
I have a feeling we're going to get surrounded by goons and we're going to talk to the fishes.
Yes. The bank and the insurance company where we do business and we talk with the language of money. Perhaps that's also an avenue.
Yeah. There is the Bank of Innsmouth that we also need to check in with to see if silver deposits. Didn't they mention that they had silver deposits in a safety deposit box?
Right, the one from Bartholomew Tagg.
Yeah.
But the money kept coming after he allegedly disappeared, right? It came for 20 years-ish after. So did he set up a trust who, facilitated that? Is there a law firm working on his behalf? All traces. We'll solve this case through financial or forensic auditing. That's what we will do.
Yes.
That is the dream, isn't it?
I'll leave that to you guys.
Elliot Ness, eat your heart.
Right. So now it's late. What do you guys want to do? Go to bed?
I'm marking papers, but yes, I'm back, at my place on campus.
I have a little bedroll in the library that I sleep on when I have long nights. I just go under the table and sleep on that.
Well, if anybody wants to investigate the speed.
Oh, the magical trolley.
One case at a time, gentlemen.
This one's basically a vacation.
A vacation.
We do have some funds left allocated for that investigation. If you do need to use club funds for that, gentlemen.
I'll come with you.
All right, David.
I'll try to find this trolley.
We never heard from them again.
That would be very embarrassing.
All right. So, Tobias, you're going to stay there, you said?
Yep.
You probably do have a house.
Yeah, but if it's a long, tough night, this is where I like to rest. Okay. Surrounded by the books.
And the rest of you are heading towards your respective homes. Professor Jerome, you're on the campus. You have an apartment on the campus. Moira is going to come with you then, and then get put into a dorm room. Edward and Bruno do luck rolls.
Oh, there we go. There's a nice failure.
What was my luck again? Oh no, that ain't gonna cut it.
77.
Ooh, double failure.
All right. So we'll say that the both of you from the Corbin Library, you walk to your respective homes, but you start out going in the same direction, walking down Main Street. towards, I don't know, Temple or something like that, where you part your ways. You're walking for maybe 5 minutes down the street, possibly chit-chatting, and you suddenly realize that there is a car, a broken down sort of looking jalopy, that's down the street a ways, and it doesn't have its lights on, but it is slowly rolling, keeping up with you guys. You're pretty sure there's people inside, a couple of people inside too.
But we failed our luck rolls. But we're noticing this, though.
Oh, yeah.
I think
you failed your luck rolls means that they're following you.
Yeah, we're about to get rolled.
So, Bruno, let's stick together instead of splitting up, because we'll probably be tracked down and something bad may happen. My flat's not too far from here. Would you like to just sort of go over here?
Yeah, maybe we should go into a side street or something where they can't follow us in that huge car.
Pick up our speed. And I still have in my satchel my, just in case, my 38. I thought I would need it at Innsmouth, not here. Good Lord. So pick up the pace into a narrow alley. Nothing could go wrong.
In a narrow alley.
As soon as you pick up the pace and start to move, the lights come on that car and it starts rolling faster forward to try to catch up to you. But you guys manage to duck into the alley, and the car, you're looking down the alley, or you're looking back down the alley towards the street, and the car stops halfway. And you can see the people inside of it are obviously looking in your direction. I assume, though, you keep going?
Oh, yeah.
You.
Yeah. I would, once we get like halfway down, try to use stealth to kind of blend into the dumpsters and boxes and stuff off to the side so we're not easy to be seen.
Do a listen roll.
Uh-oh. Right.
Uh-oh.
Ooh, there's a success. 25 out of 60, so that's a hard.
Where's my listen? Oh, yeah, I just got a regular.
Okay. Well, you do hear a voice. It's not yelling after you. It seems to be that one of them is saying something angrily to the other one in the car. The voice is kind of deep and croaky. He's like, I don't know, Joe. I don't want to know what they're doing. I don't know why they're snooping around with that woman. And by then, you guys have gotten far enough down the alley that you hide in the shadows and turn the corner. And the car, of course, pulls out and come around the corner and catch you guys again. But, he doesn't know exactly where you went, or they don't.
Can we make it back, say, to at least my flat?
Yeah, let's do a luck roll. One of you do a luck roll. Who's got the worst luck?
I have
55.
5.
I have 55.
You both have 55?
Oh, 65.
Oh.
Okay, so I'll do it.
Do 55, roll it.
Oh, yes. Oh, 9.
Okay. You guys do see the car on the road, but you guys manage to stay in the shadows, and it drives by. They don't know where you've gone. You can slip back to Edward's house.
Okay. Do I have a phone in my flat?
Probably.
Okay. 2297, Professor Jerome Moo's house, please.
Okay. Professor Jerome, have you gotten to? Yeah, you've probably gotten there by now.
I'm like, what time is this? Hello?
Oh, Professor, I'm so sorry. This is Edward Coburn. Bruno and I were trying to. Yeah, we were walking home, and those people from Innsmouth, they followed us here.
Oh dear.
They're trying to track down why it is we're helping out Moira. They looked serious. They looked a bit spooky. Like I don't know what they're willing to do, but they looked like gangsters.
Have you reached out to the authorities to let them know? I mean,
we just got in the door and closed it behind us.
Well, I would suggest let's reach out to that detective that we helped when we solved that last case with the medallion, and see if they can provide us some protection. I will let Miss Moira know as soon as I can to make sure she's safe. Also, let the local people patrolling the dormitories know to look out for ruffians.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. Do you think they'll dare attack the university itself? If so, I'm going to go and look for Tobias.
Well, I have no idea, but I think they're just trying to figure out what's going on, and they were trying to chase us down. So I'm a little bit suspicious of their tactics.
That does seem aggressive. So here's what I'll do. I'll 1, notify the dormitory patrols and also Miss Moira. 2, I will go to the library to reach out and find Tobias. Could you reach out to the detective and also make sure Mr. Bard is all right?
Okay, I will.
Absolutely. Well, stay safe, gentlemen. All right, and then I do all the stuff I claim I'll be doing.
Yeah, I do the stuff that I claim.
Yeah.
So, Professor, you're going to drive back over to the library?
I'll first notify the dormitory people and send a note to Moira to be careful, and then I'll just walk over back to the library since I'm on campus anyways.
Okay, so you send a note to Moira. You'll say there's a time. Are you going to go right to your car and drive to the library then?
I'll probably wait for a time for the page or whoever at the girls' storms to relay the message first.
Okay. If you wait there for a few moments, Moira, she comes running out of the dorm. She has her high heels in her hands,
right?
Which she kind of puts on as she gets out the door, and she comes running over to your car and she says, "Call your friend. Tell him don't alert the police."
What are you doing here, young lady? You're much safer inside where you're protected. Don't be out here. They're after you, not us.
Yes, but they're dangerous people. You've got to be careful.
Well, that's why we are getting the authorities involved, and they'll take care of them. Don't worry.
No, the authorities might. I mean, I don't know that. I don't trust the police force.
Well, maybe in Innsmouth, but here, you recognize us from the papers. You read the article. We helped out the local authorities, and that detective who got promoted because of it. Well, he owes us a little something.
I'm very nervous about it. I'll go back inside, but please be careful.
It'll be all right, my dear. It'll be all right. Stay safe. You'll be safe inside. I'm going to go find some of our colleagues, and then tomorrow morning, I'll send for you, and then we'll all go back to the library. We'll all be safe together. But yeah, please stay safe in here.
She shakes her head yes. She goes back.
I'm going to talk to the page to let them know to somehow find me if they see her like trying to leave the premise, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And then I'll be going to the car. I'll get the shotgun out of the back first, just in case. And then I'll drive back to the library to find hopefully peacefully sleeping Mr. Tobias.
I have a book over my face.
Like, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So you get back to the library and you have a key. So you just come to the back door and you open it. Tobias, you're probably sound asleep. You've slept here many times. So you don't hear Professor Jerome when he comes inside. Perhaps the first moment is when he flips on the lights. And I wonder if it's morning.
Are you around,
like
Toby?
I've slept properly.
Yeah. I say somehow holding my shotgun in the most non-threatening manner.
If the librarians saw you bring that in here, they'd be very upset.
I understand Marshall will be upset, but we have a...
Yeah, just at least hide it, Professor.
It's so late. No one with innocent intent will see me, and anyone with...
Oh, what time is it?
Probably 11 or so, 11 or 12.
It's some 11, almost 12.
Secondary bags haven't left yet. Sorry.
Something is afoot, dear Tobias. Something is afoot.
What's going on?
Bruno and Edward were accosted by those ruffians from earlier in Innsmouth. They seem to have followed us all the way here in town. And according to Edward, we're tailing them with clearly, vile intent.
Wait a minute. So the Innsmouth gangsters are here.
They're here, yes. Now, fortunately, Bruno and Ed made their way back home safe, but we must be alert.
Why don't we just tell the local gangsters about this and they'll deal with them because they hate that stuff?
I don't have those connections, but just if you
go to the speakeasy, we'll let them know that these guys are poking their head in their business. They'll chase them out of town. Or go to the cops, I suppose. But I think the gangsters would probably be better at it.
Well, I suggest that they alert that detective that we talked of earlier. But
of course.
I do like where your head is at. I think if we target the problem from both angles, these gentlemen will disappear on their own. But anyways, I came to make sure you're all right. And, if you don't feel safe, I do have a spare, bedroom.
Sure, I'll come back with you tonight. I'll just bring some reading material with me.
Right. We'll just need to mark it down so Marshall doesn't, fault us for taking things from the library.
Yep. Was there any Innsmouth maps with shipping stuff around that I could grab? No. Why do they not have that stuff here? We have a hole in our library.
The real hole in the library is the fact there are no New England maps that show Innsmouth on it.
Huh.
So,
like a conspiracy.
Well, more like nobody wants to survey that area.
Just pretend it doesn't exist.
So, it's just a fishing village.
We'll have to talk to that grumpy old Grouch Armitage and see if he has any ideas too.
I can also guarantee you that if you go right now and you look up on the internet, Innsmouth, it won't be there either.
Oh, what? Well, that's because it got raided.
Yeah.
It got raided.
Well, in any event, come along, Tobias. Let's head back to my suite.
Okay.
All right. So from that moment on, you guys are nervous, but nothing else happens in the middle of the night. Get up the next morning. And what do you want to do? How did you make arrangements? What you're going to do in the morning? Where are you going to meet? Moira's fine. She's glad you're fine.
Is Bard okay?
Yeah, Bard's fine. Bard made it home, no problem. Went to bed, got a good night's sleep, had a glass of warm milk.
It was great. What happened?
I wasn't even aware of all the drama that you guys went through.
Yeah. He slept better than any of us.
It's great.
So I guess we're back at the Corbin Library. It's probably like 8:39 in the morning. So tell us again of what happened to you two, Ed and Bruno. You mentioned those ruffians from earlier accosted you.
Oh, Bruno, you should say it in your words so they get your perspective. I've already told on the phone mine.
Well, I guess they just rolled up on us. They didn't shoot.
That's good. Or it's like that means that they know that we're here. They must have been watching the library.
Right. They seem to have pretty good intel.
She goes over to the window and she's looking out to see if she sees.
They must have some people in town to watch for them.
Right, because they were behind us.
Yeah. No, we left them in the dirt, so they have some people here to look out for us.
Well, if I was them, I would have looked at the plate of our car while we were inside.
You know what? That fellow, he might have hired a private eye to follow Miss Myra around. There might be a regular Joe out there somewhere keeping tabs on her.
She says most likely they just drove here to Arkham. You guys all look like you're from a fancy town.
It's the clothes, isn't it?
And it was the road to Arkham that we were on.
Yeah.
And then we were driving around in the middle of the night when everybody else was in bed asleep. So She says those bastards are sneaky.
That's most unfortunate. Edward, any luck with the detective? Does he think he can help us out? If not, Tobias has another excellent idea.
Was I able to get through to Detective O'Hare?
Let's say you call him. What was his name? Detective
O'Hare.
Detective O'Hare. It's Detective O'Hare.
Oh. Oh,
Hello?
Detective O'Hare. Oh, yes. Oh, it's Edward from the group we were working with you before on a couple cases.
Mr. Coburn, yes, I remember you.
Oh, thank you so much.
What can I do for you?
We apparently have been followed and are being stalked now by some. We're thinking some sort of criminal organization from Innsmouth. They're trying
Innsmouth.
to. Yeah, it's rather unnerving. We visited there earlier, just briefly in the outskirts, just very briefly, and apparently we've been tailed out. And there's some sort of a group of people now trying to stalk us down, finding out what we were maybe driving by there for. It's rather disturbing. They look quite threatening.
Well, I'm not going to ask you why you would ever go to Innsmouth, but what can you describe these people?
Well, it's the best looks we've got from them were sort of, I give them the best description that I can.
The vehicle and so forth. Yeah. Broken down vehicle.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what I can do for you, but I mean, our jurisdiction's a town. I can have my men keep an eye out for this broken down jalopy that you were talking about.
Yeah, we'll try to get, if it shows up again, we'll try to get a very good description of it, plus license plate. If you could just keep an eye out for it.
Those Innsmouth folk are pretty nasty people. We'll keep an eye out. If we see any of them, we'll make them leave town.
Thank you so much, Detective O'Hare.
Right. No problem.
Well, now that we got one side of the law taken care of, and then he goes to a little tray and then slides it out and takes out a wad of cash. Maybe, I think $100 in 1920s is about $1,000 or $1,500 now. He takes out
probably
like $200-$300.
Oh, remember, you're a professor. You're not.
Well, I have a fairly high credit rating too. I spent all of mine on credit ratings. So let's say $100. He takes out like $100. Mm-hmm. I believe, Tobias, you mentioned there might be other friends we can call on. Again, maybe Bruno or Tobias, you know these elements more than I do.
I'm not getting involved.
Here's the thing, Professor. Yeah. These guys are only going to protect us in as far as those guys coming to Arkham.
Can they make these individuals, how do you
they're not going to go outside of their territory to do anything.
Oh, I mean disappear if they're in Arkham.
They're not going to want to start a fight with another territory if they can help it. They're going to say, hey, you don't belong here. They're not going to get into a battle with.
Oh, dear.
Moira shakes her head and she says, you city folk don't know how the criminal element works, do you?
I'm a professor of finance and accounting.
Yeah.
Don't get involved with criminals.
Yeah, the thing is, we don't want to owe them anything, Professor. It just occurred to me that this is probably not a worthy track to go down.
Well, if you don't know that they're not in league with one another.
Oh, you're right. They might be sharing their contraband. Yeah.
Sometimes I wish we expanded our circle.
We're going to have to go back to Innsmouth because I have a feeling that any information we need is going to be there.
Oh, dear.
Which means we're either going to have to navigate around these guys or we're going to have to talk to them.
Or
you should be able to find some maps of Innsmouth itself.
Right.
If you're looking for certain businesses.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So at least we can talk to the insurance company and the bank. All right. So we shouldn't go back in the same car. We should travel in a different vehicle and try to do this on the down low.
Yeah, I've got my old 1919 pickup truck. It's pretty sturdy.
Well, gentlemen, even though this is the remaining funds for the club, even though Innsmouth is insular, I'm sure money talks, and if we need prompt answers, and then he starts sort of divvying the cash out between the four of you and himself. Just in case we need to smoothen things a little bit, just in case.
So bribe fund is $25 a piece.
So our your plans then are to go back to Innsmouth?
Well,
see what you can find.
Yeah, because the somehow Innsmouth history is tied into this lighthouse. There's got to be something there we can use.
Right.
But we should not split up there. Yeah, we need to stay as a group. Or
is there an Innsmouth Historical Society?
No. There are New England historical societies in like Roxport and Newburyport that have tried to get some information on it, but the information coming out of Innsmouth is very little.
I forgot to mention, sorry, I completely forgot to mention this, but when I was talking with the grandma, she said that she originally thought I believe she thought that I was Jonathan Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that I had moved to Kingsport.
Oh.
So.
Yeah, that would help us track
perhaps
down.
Jonathan Brooks moved to Kingsport.
No, we don't see a Jonathan Brooks. Oh, from King. Oh.
But is that Jonathan Mora's dad, or who's Jonathan?
The son. Brooks is the
son.
Mora's,
it's her son.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Jonathan's her son. Okay.
So you believe Kingsport might have clues about this area and Jonathan?
Maybe. I mean, Kingsport is, I think, closer to Innsmouth than Arkham is.
Yeah, it's just up the coast a little ways.
And certainly more friendly than Innsmouth, to be sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Miss Moira, before we go back to Innsmouth again, what say you to take a trip with us to Kingsport and visit your father's old stomping grounds, as it were?
My father never said anything about Kingsport, but they certainly should have records there.
But to Edward's point, it does make sense for us to make sure we're in a different vehicle, or maybe even two, just in case they manage to sabotage one of them.
Or just they know what they're looking for then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wonder
and Ms. Moira, it might be best to dress down clearly your appearance, among us more drab looking gentlemen does attract attention. If you could dress down a little bit, that'll be good too. So will we all.
We'll look totally different.
Okay.
Aha! Wait a minute. Where did Edward go?
Where did he go? Where did Ed go?
He's vanished.
So you all hop into your car, a different car than the one that you were last in. This time you're going to head to Kingsport.
Yes.
And see if you can find out stuff there. Moira once again sits in the middle in the back, and Bruno, you notice that she's paying a lot of attention to you as you drive off, and that is where we will end it for this week.
I think I'll be paying a lot of attention to her.
I think I'm going to move some of my points around into some combat skills. I didn't realize it was one of those adventures.
Yeah.
Our player includes...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was making Saki joke. Go on, yeah.
Our players included Billy Chung, Troy Lehman, Stuart Lively, Max Meltzer, and Julian Arba, with myself as the keeper of arcane lore. We have a Discord server where you can chat with other members. You can set up private games. You can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastering. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean, iTunes, or Spotify. If you'd also like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answer any questions you might have. This is Thom Raley, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck good gaming.